Some attention to educational matters. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 24th of January as International Day of Education in celebration of the role of education for peace and development. Well, this because education is declared a human right of public good and a public responsibility. The right to education is enshrined in Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration calls for free and compulsory elementary education. The Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted in 1989, also goes further to stipulate that countries shall make higher education accessible to all. The United Nations is emphatic on education development because it offers children a ladder out of poverty, a path to a promising future, and informed leadership of nations when they emerge leaders. But about 244 million children and adolescents around the world are out of school. 617 million children and adolescents cannot read and do basic math. Less than 40% of girls in sub-Saharan Africa complete lower secondary school, and some 4 million children and youth refugees are out of school. The UN says their right to education is being violated, and this is unacceptable. Well, let's now talk some more about this. And joining us on the International Day of Education is the Education Advisor for Plan International Nigeria, Toby Ransom, who joins us now from Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory. Good to have you join us at this time. This statistics coming from the United Nations is quite worrying in some quarters. But does it bother you that despite being a human right, that about 18.3 million children are actually out of school in Nigeria?
Yes, hello Abosede, it's good to be here. It does bother me, and one thing I'd like to point out is that there's still, conflict about the exact number of out-of-school children, but then when we go out on the field and interact with everyday Nigerian, you're very much aware of their reality, and so it does bother me, but it's not all doom and gloom, because I'm also very much aware that there is so much going on behind the scenes, both by the government at all levels and also private individuals and development partners, to see that this number is drastically reduced across Nigeria.
So in your assessment, how effectively have we fared, in putting these measures in place and ensuring that these policies are actually implemented?
Well, the issue of effectiveness is actually one that I'm sure we cannot address completely here. But like I mentioned, there's so much going on. Implementation of policies has been one of the major challenges in actually addressing the issue of the large number of out-of-school children. There are ongoing work happening. We know that at the national level, we have so many of those policies. The challenge usually happens when at the state level, these policies are not either contextualized or adopted, and then also the implementation framework put in place. There's still work going on. The measures are not enough because the gap still exists. But more and more, we're seeing more interest. We're seeing more awareness being raised, by partners and even our government partners. So like Plan International being at the forefront of addressing the issue of out-of-school children through the Accelerated Basic Education Program, which is a national framework that was developed by the NERDC. So there's still some gap, and then more work needs to be done.
So as we count down to 2030, when the Sustainable Development Goals are meant to have been met by, all countries who are signatory to it, what must we do as a country to boost our education system and take our children off the streets?
Thank you for that question. Number one, all hands must continue to be on deck. So the challenge of education, or number of out-of-school children, and also the quality that we are providing to the learners already enrolled in school requires everyone to be involved. So we have the government, of course, we have parents, communities, private individuals and everyone just putting our hands on deck. And then also, we must continue to implement adaptively. So as we continue to implement these existing policies, we also need to look and see where the gaps are and learn from them and quickly address them, right? And then we also need to look at learning or education that meets the needs of the different learners across Nigeria. So we're not just looking at Nigeria as a holistic or as a one unit, but Nigeria is such a diverse country, and then you have learners with different needs and different languages. So we need to start looking at the provision of education through those needs, where we're addressing the needs of the children, their backgrounds and the likes of it. So that looks at the issue of inclusive and gender responsive education.
You've spoken about gaps a number of times. Talk to us about the gaps that you personally, as an institution, organization, have noticed over time that need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. So one of the major gaps, of course, which you equally pointed out, is a large number of out-of-school children, and that is a case of access. Children do not have access to education, which could be due to different reasons, such as poverty, crisis or security, right? Availability of learning spaces, including formal and non-formal. And then another gap that we have, of course, is the lack of gender responsive education. So at both planning, budgeting, and implementation, where we do not have education, like education being provided to children, taking into consideration their different needs. So the needs of girls, the need of children with disabilities, the needs of children affected by conflict. And of course, another gap, again, a major gap for us is the presence or availability of trained teachers. We have trained teachers, but then the numbers are not enough to meet the needs of the children on ground. And just to quickly say that, I know that the federal government have the DOTS policy that is supposed to address that. That's the data out of school children, teacher support and skills acquisition and development.
Right.
And when this is fully implemented and supported by everyone, then we would start addressing some of these gaps.
Education advisor for Plan International Nigeria, Toby Ransom, thank you very much for your time on World Now.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, that is World Now. Thank you for watching. There's more on our website, www.tvc.